In this slide, we're going to make a very quick exercise on the conversions from degrees to radians. Let's go. So what I'm giving you here is I'm giving you an angle in degrees. So I'm going to be giving you an angle in degrees. And down here, I want you to give me the angle in radians. And then we're going to go the other way around. First, I'm going to give you radians, and I'm going to ask you for the degrees. Okay. So, 45 degrees. How many radians are 45 degrees? Sure you guessed it correctly. Pi over 4 radians. So, let's see. In order to go from 45 degrees, so in order to go from 45 degrees to radians, I need to use this formula. So 45 degrees is the same thing as the number 45 without the circle, divided by the number 180. So I've removed the circle, and I've put the number t upstairs, and then I'm multiplying that by pi. So 45 divided by 180, that happens to be 1/4 times pi. All right, if you take 180 and you divide it by 45, you're going to get, well, I guess you're going to get 4. And 4 times 5 is 0, carry over 2, well, I guess 80. So 45 divided by 180 is 1 divided by 4. Okay. So 36 degrees. How many radians are 36 degrees equal to? I'm sure you guessed it correctly. 36 degrees are exactly 1/5 of 180 degrees, right? If I take 5 and I multiply it by 36, I'm getting 5 times 30 plus 5 times 6. So I'm getting 150 plus 30, so I'm getting 180. So if you take, so 36 degrees is the same thing as 36 divided by 180 times pi, which is 1/5, because 5 times 36 is 180. So 36 divided by 180 is 1/5 times pi. So 1/5 of pi radians. Pi over 5 radians. Negative 20 degrees. What's that equal to? I'm sure you guessed it correctly. That is negative pi over 9. Why is that the case? Well, you take just negative 20 and you divide it by 180. The 0 cancels. 2 divided by 18 is 1 divided by 9 times pi. So 1 minus 1/9 pi. Whoops. Let me work it out from the beginning. Negative 20 degrees is the same thing as negative 20 divided by 180 times pi, which is here 0 cancelled, the 2 cancels, 2 and 9 and 1 on top, so we get minus 1/9 times pi, or what is the same, minus pi over 9. 360 degrees, how many radians? 2 pi. Negative 720 degrees, how many radians? Negative 4 pi. Minus 225 degrees, how many radians? Let's see. 180 degrees plus 45 degrees is 225 degrees. This was pi radians we mentioned. 45 degrees is pi over 4 radians. So these two must be equal to pi plus pi over 4 radians. So these must be equal to 5 pi over 4. So, and there's a minus sign in the front, so the answer should be negative 5 pi over 4. Correct, negative 5 pi over 4. 2015 degrees. How many radians is that? Well, I guess we need to take 2015 and we need to divide it by 180 and we need to multiply that by pi, right? So I need to take 2015 divided by 180. What do I get? First I'm having 180 here, subtract, I'm getting 21, 215 divided by 180, that is 1. So minus, minus 180, and I'm left with that is 35 35 degrees if I'm not mistaken. So let me carry it out over here. Once again, I want to repeat the computations. 180, 2015. So I'm dividing 2015 by 180. I'm getting 1. We subtract the 2. I'm getting 21. Okay, pull the 5 downstairs. I'm getting 1. And 180 there. I subtract the 2, 15 and 20. That is 35. So I'm getting 11 times 180 degrees plus 35, right? So that is 11 times 180 plus 35 divided by 180, whole thing times pi. So that is 11 plus 35 divided by 180 times pi. So 35 here you can cancel out a factor of 5, you're left with 36. So I guess in the end you get 11 times 36 plus 7 over 36. So what's that equal to? 11 times 36 is, well, I guess 36 and 36. So 396. You add 7, you get, so 396 plus 7 over 36. So our final answer is 403 over 36 times pi. Whoops, pi went missing. 403/36 pi. All right. Now let's convert from radians to degrees. So if I start with pi over 3 radians, how many degrees is that? Now that is how many degrees is pi over 3 radians? Sure, you guessed it correctly, 60 degrees, right? Because if pi is 180 degrees, then pi over 3 is 180 degrees divided by 3, which is 60 degrees. 180 divided by 3 is 60. Pi over 10, how many degrees? I'm sure you guessed it correctly, 18 degrees, right? Because if pi is 180 degrees, then pi over 10 is 180 degrees divided by 10, which is 18 degrees. I'm using that formula here. 11 pi over 6. How many degrees is that? I'm sure you guessed it correctly. So pi over 6, that is 180 degrees divided by 6, which is 30 degrees. So if you take 11 times pi over 6, that is 30 degrees times 11, which happens to be 330 degrees. So 330 degrees. 7 pi over 4, what's that equal to? I'm sure you guessed it correctly. It's equal to, well, let's see. 7 pi over 4 is certainly equal to 8 pi minus pi over 4. I've represented 7 as 7 pi, I've represented as 8 pi minus pi. So that is 8 pi over 4 minus pi over 4, which is 2 pi minus pi over 4. Now pi over 4, if you remember, that was 45 degrees. And 2 pi, that was 360 degrees. So what we have is 360 degrees minus 45 degrees. So what we get is 315 degrees. Pi over 7. How many degrees is that? I was pulling your leg. This is a bit of a tricky question. It's 180 divided by 7 degrees. And this is not an exact division, so you can't really simplify it. It's 180 divided by 7 degrees. If you will, if you have a calculator handy, you can compute a numerical approximation. It's about 25.7 degrees. But once again, this was a tricky question. I wasn't really expecting an answer. 180 divided by 7 degrees. That's not a real answer because I haven't truly computed anything here. 13 pi over 6, how many degrees is that? Well, let's see. That's, I guess that's 11 pi over 6 plus a third of pi, right? So it should be 390 degrees, is it? Let's see. 13 6 of pi is equal to 12 plus 1 over 6 times pi, which is 12 6 plus 1 6 times pi, which is 2 plus 1 6 pi, which equals, well, it equals 2 pi plus pi over 6. We already mentioned that 2 pi is 360 degrees, and to that you add pi over 6. Well, we did compute that pi over 6 was 180 degrees divided by 6, so that's 30 degrees. So pi over 6 is 30 degrees. And 360 degrees plus 30 degrees is 390 degrees. There we go. Minus 5 pi over 4. Sure, you guessed it correctly. That was actually very easy. That's minus 225 degrees. Why? Because we did it before. So negative 5 pi over 4 was negative 225 degrees in the previous conversion. So, okay, I cheated. How I should have done is negative 5 pi over 4, that is equal to negative 4 pi over 4 minus pi over 4, which is minus pi over 4, which is minus 180 degrees, minus 45 degrees, which is minus 225 degrees. But then again, I didn't really need to do that because I could just cheat in the, because we already did this in the preceding example. And finally, 2 radians, what amount of degrees is that? Okay, this is a tricky question. So if we were to follow the formula, we need to use 2 radians, and so if pi radians are 180 degrees, so in order to get to pi, you'd have to divide here by pi, and you'd have to multiply by 2 if you want to get to 2 radians, right? So the number 2 is 2 times pi over pi, so it's 180 degrees divided by pi, so it's 180 degrees, 2 pis of it, right? So 2 divided by pi, this proportion, and that's not really a nice number, right? So that's approximately 180 degrees times 2 divided by 3.14, right? So pi is approximately 3.14. So, and you can approximate that with a calculator. It turns out this is 2 radians. Remember, 1 radian was approximately 57 degrees. So 2 radians are approximately 114 degrees, right? So just a reminder, 1 radian was approximately 57.3 degrees. So 2 radians is approximately this.